Okay, we can start. We are on live.
So we are on live.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I shall start. So a very good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to 69th Wildlife Week celebrations. So today we are conducting a webinar on the topic Avifauna of Andhra Pradesh and ecology and conservation of species. So today the speaker joined us today to speak us on about the topic is Avifauna for AP, ecology and conservation of species. So a brief introduction about Sir. So Raja Bandi is from Vijayawada in Andhra Pradesh, and currently he is working as a citizen science coordinator at IISER. So his work includes taking nature to citizens of AP, mainly children and youth. So he could regularly conduct nature walks and bird walks and many other related nature walks. So he also supports local institutions in forming nature clubs and bird watching clubs. So he will speak us today on Avifauna of AP, focusing on ecology and conservation of species. Over to you, sir, to please begin your talk.
Yeah, thanks, Divya. Thanks, Ramana. And can you guys hear me well, clear and loud? Can someone
Yes, sir.
confirm
It's
that?
audible, sir.
Right, perfect.
Yes, it's audible, sir.
Right, thank you. I'm just sharing my screen now. Um, I'm just presenting. Can you see my screen now? Yeah, is my screen visible? Can someone confirm, please?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Right. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Raj Shekhar, and thanks, Divya, for the intro. As I said, I'm working as the Citizen Science Coordinator at IISER Tirupati, and recently I started working as a project coordinator for State of India's Bird Project. It's nice to have you all, and today we're going to quickly look at some birds around us. And I'm going to speak especially in the context of the state of Andhra Pradesh. So I'm going to talk you through some of the habitats where we see the birds, and also some species of high conservation importance, and the threats these species and the habitats where these species are dwelling currently. The threats these are facing, and also a quick slide on how you, me, and everyone can contribute uh, to the protection of the habitats as well as the species that dwell in those habitats, mainly birds. So, like everyone, wherever we go, we look at a lot of birds. So even you step out of your house, or you're standing out in your balcony, you go to a park, you go to a forest, and you go to a seashore. Wherever you go, you will see a lot of birds. And some of you can, identify some of the birds like crows, parakeets, and a lot of other things. But when you speak about the ecology of the birds, um, I think everyone needs to understand them in a better way. So there is like when you see a bird, there is a difference between seeing and observing, right? When you start observing, you will understand the birds more. A bird, in terms of ecology as a whole, is a key component of that ecosystem. So birds have needs, and birds have responsibilities because they do parenting as well. And also birds are just like us. So they feed, they sleep, they fight, they do a lot of other things. So birds are, a very interesting subject to study. Yes, webinars with ICZP, I spoke about the benefits of the birds, or why birds are important to us, and we spoke about how they contribute towards our food chain, and how they do natural pest control, and how they create a lot of economy for us, and how we can harvest um, the ecosystem services of the birds more responsibly. But today, I'm not going to revisit all those details, but I'm going to just speak about birds and habitats. So if you look at all the birds in front of you in the screen, all these are, I would say, commonly found birds. Means they're found everywhere, like crows and the mynas and the kaukal. Kaukal, I think in Telugu it's called the jamudu kaki. I think most of you are familiar with this bird. It is seen in gardens, forests, cities, everywhere, villages everywhere. And we have this koel. This is the female of a koel. It's a nice, beautiful bird. And we have this small, very noisy bird you might get to hear every morning. It's nice, shrilling, loud call. It's called Ashiprinia because it has a nice ashy color head. And then, a very familiar pigeon. So all these birds, there is one similarity in these birds. If you look at where they thrive, where they feed, and where they nest, these are called the generalist species. So typically, it's depending upon their behavior and how they thrive and live around. So the name generalist species, because you will see them very generally everywhere. You see crows in the forest, you see crows in the towns, you see crows in the shoreline habitats, you see crows in the riverine habitats. It's the same with the pigeons. Pigeons are almost found everywhere. And it's the same with Ashiprinia. And koels, they are everywhere, from forests to urban habitats, and also in semi-urban to agricultural landscapes. You see koels everywhere, and it's the same with the kaukal and also the mynas. So these are called the generalist species. If you conclude them in one way, so these species can thrive anywhere. You take them anywhere and leave them anywhere, they can survive. So they are built to do that. If you look at the beak or bill of these birds and the legs, and the way they live and thrive, they can feed on almost anything, right? So crows are omnivorous. They scavenge, they hunt, and even opportunistically they feed on fruits. And it's the same with mynas. They are insectivorous, they are frugivorous, they eat a lot of things, they do scavenge. And kaukals also do the same. They are like frugivorous, and also they feed on the chicks of the other birds, kaukals. And koels are again, frugivorous mainly, but they do feed on insects often. And pigeons are quite scavengers. Nowadays, you will see them in the apartment buildings. So all these birds are, very strongly, they can survive anywhere. And these are called the distribution maps for those who are new to these kind of distribution maps. So it's just in the state of Andhra Pradesh where all these birds are found and recorded. So all these purple squares represent where the species were found or recorded. So all these data is from the State of India's bird report, or I would say if some of you have used the eBird portal, so any bird watcher or any nature lover who observe birds can observe birds or photograph them, and they can submit a checklist or the list of the birds to the eBird portal. So so the maps you are watching here on the screen is all the data from the eBird portal. So if you see Asian koel, as I said, they live everywhere in the state of Andhra Pradesh, right from the Tirupati district in the southernmost part all the way to the Srikakulam. They are distributed everywhere, from forests to shorebird, shorelines to riverine habitats. They're everywhere. And the same with the kaukal. Kaukals are found everywhere across Andhra Pradesh. They are like distributed across the state. And it's the same with the feral pigeons. So you will find them anywhere and everywhere. Right? And this purple color indicates that they are found year around. Year around means all through the year, all the 12 months. Every month you go out, you find a koel, or you see a kaukal, or you see a pigeon. Right? They don't migrate, or they might do very limited local migration, but it's not that significant. So these are all called the resident birds, and also these are the generalist species. And let's look at the next category. So all these beautiful birds, probably most of you have seen outside your villages or towns near the water bodies. So these are all, I would say, mostly seen around water bodies or the wetlands, feeding on probably water vegetation, insects, fishes, frogs. So we have this beautiful spot-billed duck, this red color spot on the bill or the beak gives the name spot-billed duck. And we have the little cormorant, which is almost found in each and every wetland across the state. It's very, I think it's locally called nitikaki. And we have these beautiful whistling ducks. This is the lesser whistling duck with a nice pale color face. And the name comes from the way they call. So when they make a sound or call, the call sounds like a nasal whistle. So the name, the whistling ducks. So these are again very commonly found ducks across the state of Andhra Pradesh. And then this is the little grebe. Again, very extensively found species, almost in every water body, right from brackish water to fresh water. You will see them everywhere. These small duck-like birds which dip into the water and then they just reappear somewhere else. So these are called the grebes. And we have these nice, beautiful purple heron, which has very long legs, and it feeds on a lot of variety of things, including snakes, occasionally, and frogs, fishes, sometimes also chicks of the small birds. I think in Telugu it's called the Erra Narayana Pakshi. And finally, the kingfisher called the Lakumuki Pitta. The bullet train is inspired by the design of this head of the kingfisher, an expert hunter around the water bodies. So one thing common in all these species is, again, they dwell around the water bodies or the wetlands. So these are the species which you normally get to see very commonly in the state of Andhra Pradesh across all the wetlands or the water bodies. So these are called the wetland species. Let's look at some of the distribution of these species across the wetlands in Andhra Pradesh. Right. Again, first we have the Indian spot-billed duck. Again, it's just like quail and crow. It's like the generalist in terms of the water bodies. It is found in all coastal to inland water bodies in the state of Andhra Pradesh and found year-round, all through the year. There are some gaps here, probably. It doesn't mean that these birds are not found in here, but probably these areas were not explored by any birders, and there is no bird data from these landscapes, especially in the Prakasam district. And next comes the lesser whistling duck. Again, this is just like a spot-billed duck, as good as the spot-billed duck. The lesser whistling duck is distributed across the state of Andhra Pradesh in all wetland habitats, including the inland wetlands to the coastal wetlands and also the riverine habitats and agricultural habitats. You can see the vast distribution of the species. There is one more species that's called the fulvous whistling duck, which is slightly larger than the lesser whistling duck. But considering the time we have, we don't have that kind of opportunity to look at all the species today. Oops, I said little grebe, but apologies, I forgot to change the image here. So again, the little grebe, if you go to the previous slide, this is the little grebe. It's called Munugudu Batu in Telugu. So if you look at the little grebe, again, it is a very generalist species in terms of the water bodies. I'm not saying generalist species overall. It thrives in all wetlands and water bodies. Sorry. It thrives in all wetlands and water bodies. So if you look at all these three maps, or the distribution maps of the species, there is one common gap in the Prakasam district. So probably it's because the wetlands in the Prakasam district are not explored as good as or as detailed as the wetlands of the other districts in the state of the Andhra Pradesh. You can see the coastal, like Godavari, Krishna Godavari Delta region is completely explored. All the wetlands, we have a lot of data of the birds. But when it comes to the arid landscapes like Prakasam district and Kadapa Karnool, the data is a bit less when compared to the coastal districts. So yeah, let's look at the next set of species. Some beautiful colorful birds we have. This is the crested serpent eagle, and the name itself says it feeds on the snakes mostly. This diet primarily consists of snakes, and very much restricted to the forests and the forest edges and some of the discontinued forest belts of the Eastern Ghats and the hills. And then we have the crested tree swift. Again, this is a very small bird, which you might see in the forest edges, flying around high and circling, hawking on the insects, like it catches insects in flight. And we have this beautiful emerald dove. Dove in Telugu is called guva. The normal doves which we see in the urban areas are the spotted dove and laughing doves, but this colorful species of dove you will only see in the moist forest patches of the Eastern Ghats. And then we have the blue-bearded bee-eater. Again, the names of the birds are very easy to remember and recollect. So this is a bee-eater species, but a larger one. It has a nice blue color bird, like bird under the throat. So the name blue-bearded bee-eater. Again, this is a bird which restricts to itself to slightly elevated forests and moist forest patches in the state of Andhra Pradesh, especially in the Eastern Ghats hills and forests. And then we have this nice large emeraldish or probably very bright green color pigeon with a pale head. This is called a green imperial pigeon. And again, this is a pigeon, a large pigeon that can only be seen in the moist and dense forest patches of the Eastern Ghats of Andhra Pradesh. And most of us know the bulbuls, the very dull-colored bulbuls which we normally see around our houses and open habitats and even forests, like the red-vented bulbul and all. But this one is the brightest of all, the yellow-browed bulbul. Again, this is restricted to only the moist forest patches in the high elevations or slightly high elevations of the Eastern Ghats of Andhra Pradesh. So I'm trying to repeatedly emphasize about the habitats because some of these birds are really habitat specific. Means when I say moist high elevation forest, you will only get to see them in the moist elevation forest, and if you come down, you will never see these birds. So let's look at the forest species distribution. So as I said earlier, the green imperial pigeon is very much found in the forests. You can see that this is the Seshachalam forest, and this is the Nallamala, and then this is the Papikonda National Park. So the green imperial pigeon the distribution is very much restricted to the forest where there are semi-moist to moist patches and a lot of trees around, right? So there are no records of the bird outside any of these forest patches. Probably there might be some records here in the northern, Srikakulam, the Donibai belt, but probably these forests were not explored. But most of the population is restricted to the forest, like the dense forest patches in Andhra Pradesh. And the crested serpent eagle, again, as I said, this bird is found inside the forest, but it don't need as dense and moist forest patches as the green imperial pigeons. Even scrub to open forest as well, sometimes we will get to see the crested serpent eagle. So almost it is found up to the coast, almost. I know that there is this hills of Narayanavanam here, very close to the coast in the Tirupati district. So it's found in semi-open, open to moist and even thick forest patches of Papikonda as well. So to conclude, like this serpent eagle exists in almost all forested habitats across the state of Andhra Pradesh. And then we have the blue-bearded bee-eater, another very large bee-eater species. As I said, this is only restricted to dense moist forest patches and slight elevated at high elevation forests. Again, the distribution proves the same, that these birds are not seen outside these kind of habitats. So we have the Papikonda National Park as well, which has very good forest tree cover and moist forest patches. So you will see the bird here all the way in the Papikonda, north of Godavari and a bit of south of Godavari, and also the Seshachalam forest. Probably there might be distribution in the Nallamala, but there are no verified records here available on the eBird platform. So you can see how specific these birds are with their habitats. So you can't expect a blue-bearded bee-eater to thrive in an urban habitat. And in the same way, you can't expect the green imperial pigeon to come out and thrive in a like an open habitat. There might be reasons for it. If you start looking at it, probably the coloration of the green imperial pigeons is very green. It will help it in camouflaging with the moist forests. Probably. So there are a lot of questions. People can start asking when you look at these birds, this beautiful coloration, and where they are thriving, what they are eating, and how they are behaving, and what time of the year is best to see these birds. So all these questions will take you to the next level, and it will give us a lot of information of the birds and where they thrive and the habitats and what kind of protection is required uh, for these birds. And this is some of the important species which we see across Andhra Pradesh. All these species which I'm showing are recorded from the state of Andhra Pradesh, and the data is derived from the State of India's Birds Report. Again, the beautiful chestnut-bellied sandgrouse, the first one, and it's only found in the grasslands and the open lands, arid areas. Same with the Indian courser. It's almost a cousin of the Jordan's courser, the Kalvikodi, the elusive Jordan's courser. This is also a open scrub habitat bird. And then we have this migratory pallid harrier, this beautiful pale color harrier. These are winter migrant to the state of Andhra Pradesh. Again, these are also grassland habitat birds, grassland and open habitat birds, which mainly hunt rodents and small mammals and even small birds as well. And then we have the great grey shrike, which is again open scrub thorny habitat bird. And then we have the Montague's harrier. So this is a pallid harrier and this is a Montague's harrier. Both the harriers are very much restricted to open and grassland habitats and arid areas of the state of Andhra Pradesh, and both are migratory. They are the winter visitors. And we have this beautiful short-eared owl. Short-eared owl. Again, this is a winter migrant to the state of Andhra Pradesh, and it dwells specifically in the grassland habitats. So if you look one thing commonly across these species, these are all grassland species, and they can't thrive in any other habitats. And you can't expect to see these birds in forests or in urban areas because of how they are built and what they eat and their coloration and how they thrive in these habitats. So they're basically dependent on these habitats. So if these habitats are gone, these birds will be gone. So let's quickly look at these maps of these species. So we have the chestnut-bellied sandgrouse. As I said, these are very much found in the open habitats, like open grassland patches or scrub open patches, which are not seen in the coastal Andhra Pradesh or the northern Andhra Pradesh, because we have a lot of wetland ecosystem here. We have the Krishna Godavari Delta turned most of the open lands into agricultural habitats. So whatever the open lands and the grasslands left in Andhra Pradesh, mostly they are restricted to the Rayalaseema region. So you can see this species is mostly recorded from the Rayalaseema region. Again, as I said, pallid harrier is a bird of open grassland habitats. Most of the records, so you can see again, most of the records are from the arid and open landscapes of the Rayalaseema region. There are some isolated records here. You can see these small dots all the way till Srikakulam, Visakhapatnam. Probably because these birds are known to visit the harvested paddy plots. So when the paddy is harvested in the winter, they turn into open landscapes, giving these birds a very much advantage to hunt the rodents in the open paddy fields. So probably you can see these small dots which show that these species move all the way up to the northern Andhra till the southern Andhra, but more abundantly seen in the open habitats of the Rayalaseema region. And short-eared owl, again a winter migrant. You can see this blue color is, yes, I just winter migrant. It's a blue here for pallid harrier and the blue for the short-eared owl. There are very few records of the species from the region, mainly from Rolapadu in the Kurnool district, which has still some intact grasslands. And there was one recent record from Rajahmundry. Here you can see a small dot in the grasslands of the Godavari sandbanks. So the Godavari sandbanks has a nice grasslands, and the bird was recorded in these grasslands. probably these birds might be taking um, refuge in some other small grassland patches, but more exploration need to be done. The more bird watchers spending time outside in these landscapes, the more records of the birds we might get. But if you look at all these species anyway, it is clear and evident that um, all the open habitat species or the grassland species of the state of Andhra Pradesh are mainly restricted to the arid zone of the Rayalaseema. When it comes to the coastal zones, which are more agricultural and agrarian habitats, these birds are very less recorded. So if the grasslands are gone, these species will disappear. And one final habitat which I want to speak about is, as you can see, all the birds with long legs and nicely standing in the wet shoreline habitats. These are all the shoreline birds. We have the grey plover, and then the birds which we all know is the flamingo. And then we have one important species is the great knot, which everyone knows from Koringa. And this is a bar-tailed godwit. So all these shorebirds are mostly seen in the shores of the Andhra Pradesh. In fact, Andhra Pradesh has one of the longest shorelines in the country, about more than 900 kilometers of shoreline. And we have Pulikat, we have Koringa, we have the Srikakulam coastline, which is known for a lot of bird species, especially the shorebirds. So we have the shorebirds and the shoreline habitats. We will quickly look at some of these shorebirds. As the name indicates, these are shorebirds. So you can see the grey plovers are mainly restricted to Pulikat. Probably this is the Krishna sanctuary. And then we have the Koringa. And then further up north, Visakhapatnam and Srikakulam, we have some dots here. So grey plover is distributed along the coast, only restricted to some of these healthy coastline habitats. And if you look at the greater flamingo, as we all know, the main population or the most number of records are from Pulikat. There are some isolated records in the inland wetlands. So again, this is a behavioral trait, although it's called a shorebird. You can see that these birds sometimes move inland and thrive in the inland shallow wetlands, feeding on the algae. That's how they attain the color. And also you can see the small dots along the shoreline in Visakhapatnam and Koringa and all. There are few isolated records. But if you look at the great knot, again, it is a typical shorebird, not like greater flamingo. It won't move inland anywhere. There are no records of the bird from the inland wetlands of Andhra Pradesh. Only one or two records from Pulikat. And again, most of the records are concentrated around Koringa. So the Koringa habitat, we can say that in the state of Andhra Pradesh, it is very critical for the great knots to winter and also for passing birds to just stop over and feed and then proceed. So all these maps will give us an amazing insights into how these birds move, how they use the habitat or habitats in the state of Andhra Pradesh, so that we can prioritize which habitats are important for these birds, and we can draft and conclude some of the efficient conservation plans to protect the species and their habitats. So, So after that, we quickly look into three more species. I am going to speak about the habitat later, but these are the species which are of high conservation importance at present in the state of Andhra Pradesh. This was confirmed by the latest State of India's Birds report. Also, a lot of other organizations like the SACON, also the Salim Ali Center for Ornithological Studies, they also in their recent management plan for the AP Forest Department, they have indicated that these birds are of high protection category and they need immediate attention without proper intervention. So there is a good chance of these birds going extinct locally in the state of Andhra Pradesh. So the first one is the Great Indian Bustard. Most of you people know the bird is known from the Rolapadu grasslands. Again, this is a large bird. So the challenge these days is developmental activities around Rolapadu. You can see there a lot of habitat has gone or converted into agricultural fields or probably solar power plants and all. So the last confirmed sighting of the species is probably 2018-19. I'm not sure, but I think it is 2018-19. So there are no records of the bird after 2018-19. So again, thorough exploration and surveys need to be done to understand the distribution of the species or whether they moved somewhere else in the state of Andhra Pradesh and probably thriving there. And then we have the lesser florican, which in Telugu is called Nemali, because of this nice crest on the head. This is a male lesser florican doing a display, trying to attract a female. Again, these birds can be seen during around in the Rolapadu grasslands. Again, the only records are from Rolapadu. So both the Great Indian Bustard and Lesser Florican are restricted, or the only recorded or confirmed records are from Rolapadu, which is a typical habitat for these two species. Means if that habitat in Rolapadu disappears or got disturbed or completely converted, we won't get to see these two species in the state of Andhra Pradesh, or we have to thoroughly look for them in other habitats if there is any habitat left. And lastly, the green munia, a small beautiful bird, which was recently rediscovered, or probably a significant population was found from the Gudisa grassland area and also the Papikonda National Park edge. So you can see there are no records of the bird from anywhere else in Andhra Pradesh. So it's only in the Gudisa high altitude grassland and the surrounding hillocks. So if you want to see these birds, you have to travel, and there is no guarantee that you would see the birds. And from the conservation perspective, these small areas or the regions or the habitats are holding this very small population of these species. And if those habitats are disturbed or disappeared, these birds will be gone. So, as I said, these are the species of high conservation importance, and these are all grassland species. All the three species are grassland and openland species. I would like to emphasize quickly a minute or two on the grassland and open habitat species. So, from a common man perspective, we see forests as like, oh, amazing green cover, we have a lot of trees, we have a lot of wildlife. But when you walk into a beautiful grassland, we don't get the same feeling, or people don't look at the same way they look at the forests, because probably grasslands are dull, brown colored, and you won't get to see anything in them. Probably here and there, some birds will be, flying around making calls, or maybe dogs, whatever. But these grasslands or the open lands are very important for species like Great Indian Bustard, or the lesser florican, and many other small species like the rufous fronted pinia, which are really, really not known to many people. All these small species. So when you look at this grassland, we will emotionally people think that, oh, there are no trees, and they start planting trees. Or alternatively, these days people try to switch to more easier ways of afforestation, like seed balls and all. So people are throwing seed balls on the hill slopes. People are throwing seed balls on the grasslands, thinking that they are doing good. But unfortunately, it is no good, because the species which are specific to the grassland habitats, when the trees grow up, or when you bring in water into the grassland habitats, so you want to convert it into agricultural habitats, so the grasslands will disappear and these birds will disappear. Not only birds, there will be some reptiles, or there will be some insects, maybe some mammals, which will be displaced from these habitats. And you can never bring them back. So my request is, people who are into afforestation or throwing seed balls, please don't throw seed balls or plant trees in open lands and the grassland habitats. Always consult the forest department, take the permission, or do any kind of activities after a thorough consulting with a research organization, right? So these are these key habitats which we found around the state of Andhra Pradesh, and the species that dwell in these habitats. So I'm going to quickly go through the threats that are impacting these habitats. So we have wetlands. Wetlands, we have the invasive species. There's a lot of invasive species which we introduce knowingly or unknowingly. Not only plants, but fishes, and even the turtles from the pet trade. People just release them in the wetlands, which makes a lot of impact on the local ecosystems. And then it will impact the birds or like the whole biodiversity. So from the bird's perspective, it is very important to understand the dynamics of the wetlands, and also understand the birds and how and what kind of wetlands they prefer. People just make some water ponds and they expect birds to come, but that's not the thing, because we have dabbling ducks, we have diving ducks which need very deep water, and dabbling ducks which need shallow water, and we have shorebirds which just stand at the shore and feed. So we need to be very, very responsible when we are developing wetlands or when we are doing any kind of developmental activities around the wetlands. So as I said, vetted developmental activities. So we need to thoroughly vet any kind of developmental activities, involve the research community and the local forest department before doing any kind of changes to the wetlands. And one more big challenge is the pesticide usage. So so especially in the Krishna Godavari Delta, there's a lot of agrarian communities which use a lot of pesticides, and all these pesticides, they just drain into the water table. I think a study around the Kolleru habitat suggested that every year 70 metric tons of pesticide is getting into the freshwater ecosystem from the Kolleru and the surroundings. So imagine how much of pesticide is getting, is actually contaminating the freshwater ecosystems around Kolleru. Again, poaching. From the bird's perspective, there are a lot of tribals in the state of Andhra Pradesh. So we have, I'm not pointing fingers, but we have these traditional tribals like Anadi communities and Erikula communities who has been into traditional hunting from long time. Alternate livelihoods probably will help them to stay away from poaching. Otherwise, poaching of wetland birds make a irreversible impact on the wetlands. And also a lot of wetlands are being converted into aquaculture, which is actually impacting the coastal ecosystems as well. And we use the fish nets, and also we use these fish nets to protect the aqua ponds from the birds. And again, these fish nets are like death traps for birds. And climate change, again, I'm not going to speak much about it because everyone knows about climate change. And coming to the grasslands, again, illegal hunting and poaching. Because grassland ecosystem is something which don't have trees. So any bird or any mammal that thrives in the ecosystem is visible out open. So it is very easy for people to spot it and hunt it. Again, climate change appeared again here. I don't want to go into it. And invasive species, as I mentioned earlier, very similar to the wetland. If you are planting trees in a grassland, it's not recommended to plant trees in the grassland, but even if you are introducing any kind of grass into this grassland, ensure that you are ones which you bring from outside. We call them the alien species. So please don't do or promote these kind of activities. And also, grasslands are like excellent, habitats that provide free fodder for the cattle for grazing, goats, cows, buffaloes, whatnot. So grazing up to some extent is good. It's good for the ecosystem, the birds, and all these species as well. But overgrazing is again a big problem. Overgrazing means you won't give time for the grass to grow back. It grows back and you again take the cattle and they graze again, and the cycle goes on and the grass will never grow. So the birds cannot take refuge in these grasslands or nest in these grasslands, either on the ground or in the grasses. So they have to abandon their habitat and they might go somewhere else, or they might just disappear. Again, irresponsible plantations. When you're planting trees, please don't plant them in the open habitats or the grasslands. And it's going to change the whole landscape. And coming to the forest, again, deforestation, I don't have to, elaborate on this. And climate change, again, one more thing everyone knows. And illegal tree felling and timber extraction is something which everyone knows. We rely on forest for a lot of produce, including timber. Again, if you are cutting off old forest trees that might be home for very good seed dispensing birds like hornbills, then you're going to wipe off their populations. So it's going to make irreversible impact on the hornbill populations, which are called the um, uh, farmers of the forest. So once the seed dispensing population of birds got impacted, then the forest propagation might get impacted. Again, invasive species like lanthana and um, all other species might make a drastic negative impact on the forest. And poaching activities, again, everywhere poaching is a threat to birds and the bird habitats. Over exploitation and mining, again, over exploitation of the forest produce, say for example, fruits and all, which the birds support, which supports the birds, and also mining activities. And shifting cultivation, this is very specific to the northern eastern Ghats of Andhra Pradesh, especially East Godavari, West Godavari, Visakhapatnam districts, where people cut the forests in the hill slopes, burn them, grow some kind of crop, and then move again, and then cut, burn, grow again. So all the hillocks are getting emptied. So this makes an irreversible impact on the birds that dwell on the hill slopes. Especially the bird I mentioned, the green munia, is now recorded from these hill slopes of the Papikonda National Park and the surrounding habitats, where the Padu cultivation or the shifting cultivation is very much prevalent. So these long-term practices might make an impact on the population of the birds like green munia. And forest fights is a very debatable thing. Sometimes it might make, like the natural fights might make, good impact, positive impact for the forest. But some of these terrible man-made fights might be good for the forest. Might not be good for the forest habitats. And lastly, shoreline. Again, climate change. The increase in temperature is increasing the sea level, so we are losing our beaches and shorelines very fast. And so the shorebirds are getting, impacted. They might be moving north or south wherever there is more stable, high tide line in the beaches. And also developmental activities. You're building resorts. You're building a lot of other things on the beach fronts. Again, it's going to impact the sand indentation or the redentation process. Ports, everything. Effluents and chemicals is a big challenge, and I think this was not even addressed in the state of Andhra Pradesh till date. Along the coast, the effluent from the aquaculture or the effluent from the aqua processing industries and chemical industries, whatnot. So definitely, this might be making impact on the life in the seas or in the shores, and and the river runoffs. So we are making a lot of changes in the upstream in the rivers, which is actually making an impact on the estuary habitats. So I would say again, dams building and all, it's indirectly making an impact down the line on the shorelines. Okay. So so how can you contribute? So we can create awareness on biodiversity. That is the most important part. So before creating awareness, we all need to know about the biodiversity. So I recommend everyone to please spend time on learning about the biodiversity around you. You don't have to refer to big books. Keep watching the birds that visit your garden. Keep watching the insects in your house or in your garden. And when you step out, you go to a park, look for birds, frogs, whatever that are dwelling, keep a note of them. And also act responsibly. Again, I'm not going to dig details. Plastic usage, dumping of chemical waste, and a lot of other things, which can start from home. So waste segregation is a big thing. So I request everyone to look into it, or else the dump yards will become the the resting places for the birds in the future. And also participate in citizen science projects. Every year we have a lot of citizen science projects and activities like Great Backyard Bird Count, Butterfly Month, Moth Week. So please participate and support Forest Department. So if you see any changes in the habitats, if you see poaching activities, anything, please report to the Forest Department. And if Forest Department is initiating any surveys or any kind of awareness activities, please support the department, actively volunteer and help them. And start recording biodiversity. And if I advise these, people might say, oh, how do I know about biodiversity? How can I record it? How can I know about a bird? How can I know about an insect? These days, with all the internet access, we have a lot of tools like iNaturalist, eBird, where you can easily find out the birds. Everyone got a camera phone, so take a photo, use these artificial intelligence softwares, and you can learn a lot of things and explore opportunities. This is especially for the student community and the research community. You look at the research opportunities. Say, unfortunately, in the state of Andhra Pradesh, I think we don't have any forestry course, especially expect in the Rampachodavaram College. It is very unfortunate, but I think youngsters who are really interested to know more about biodiversity and research and contribute to Eastern Ghats, they should actively search for opportunities in the state if there are any, or outside the state, and any research organizations that are doing very good research, and try to engage with them, try to volunteer, and try to take up some master's courses or the training courses and learn more about them. And understand climate change. Again, climate change is a broad concept. I think we are all getting impacted along with birds. So it is very important to act very fast. And research, be a citizen scientist. So research is these days everyone can do research. Everyone can be a citizen scientist. So the recent State of Birds report, along with the report, they have released a tool called Mina. It is very self-explanatory. I think anyone can use that tool. Please use that. You can go into the tool and you can find out easily the birds that are found in your city or your neighborhood, or your town, or across the India, wherever you are. You just need to draw a map. I wanted to give a demo of that, but today I don't think I have the time to do that. Probably some other day. So use the tools like iNaturalist, eBird, and also use the tools like Mina to understand the birds around you. And it is a very good tool. So I hope everyone will look at it. And yes, thank you. And there is the State of India's Birds website here listed. So you can visit that, and the link to the Mina tool is there. So you can open the Mina tool and just select the area of your interest and download a species list easily in the form of a PDF. So that's me done today, and I think we're on time. I can take some questions now. Thank you.
Sir, for sharing a valuable information on Avifauna of Andhra Pradesh, especially focusing on ecology and conservation. So moving on to the YouTube views. So the first question is, how has climate change impacted the Avifauna of AP, and what adaptation strategies are being considered?
Good question. So, to be specifically speaking about AP, there are a lot of changes. So, the AP coastline has changed. Sorry, Dina. Can you hear me?
Shall I repeat the questions?
No. I got it.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
So, we need to look at initially we need to look at the coastline. The coastline of Andhra Pradesh has changed over the time, and also the two places which I would suggest is over a period of time, the northern eastern Ghats, especially the region bordering the Vishakhapatnam and the East Godavari districts, like adjacent to the Papikonda National Park. In 1980s, some of the forest patches there used to be the evergreen moist patches. But if you go and visit these places like Maripakalu, Matambimbaram, and all these places, there are hardly any trees left in those places. So one main reason is because of the local tribal practices, and the other thing is, especially when you look at the hill slopes, the forests have changed, and the patches which used to be moist and more, a kind of evergreen type, now turned into open and barren forests. Right, that is one difference you can see, and the other difference is when you go to the coastlines. I think the high tide lines have significantly changed over a period of time across the coast of Andhra Pradesh. Some places like Uppada and all, the sea is, protruding in. The beach, which used to be more wider, has gone now. And also it's the same with the Srikakulam. So in order to exactly estimate the changes in the bird populations and the impact, we need to have the historical data. The problem with the state of Andhra Pradesh is we don't have enough historical data for many of the species. So I wish we have time to look at the State of India's Birds Report in detail. For multiple species, for majority of the species in the state of Andhra Pradesh, we don't have enough data to connect the climate change concept with the change in the bird populations. So now the immediate remedy to do is more people like us need to go out and watch birds and submit to the science community, so that at least down the line after 5-10 years we can observe the bird populations, how they are changing, and we can link the climate change with the birds. Okay, and these days we are getting a lot of rainfall, like excessive rainfall. So excessive rainfall is actually changing the habitat completely. Habitats which used to be the grassland habitats are now converted into like continuous. Habitats with continuous vegetation all through the year. So the seasonality change is impacting these habitats. So excessive rainfall is also driving a lot of runoff on the hill slopes. So there are a lot of landslides in Araku Ghats, and even in the Seshachalam landscape. There's a lot of runoff of the earth on the hill slopes, and the forests are turning more drier and open. So the forest birds will slowly disappear. So to conclude all these things using data, because science needs data and evidence, at least if we start documenting birds now, down the line after 5-10 years, we can show the next generation that yes, climate change impacted birds in Andhra Pradesh. You look at these data. We know the forests are changing for sure. We have the forest data, which can be done. Which can be evaluated using remote sensing, and we have the rainfall data. We have the climate data, but what we don't have is the bird data to connect this data to understand the impact on the birds. So I request the viewers to take up birding and look for the local bird watching group. Go with them, collect data, and submit to the citizen science portals where the scientists can use the data and help the forest department and the next generations in understanding the birds and the impact of climate change on the birds. Sorry for the long answer, but this question demands a long answer.
Thank you, sir. You have covered the second question also in this answer. So
Thank you.
moving on to the next question, is there any initiatives or successful stories related to avifauna conservation in Andhra Pradesh that you can share with us, sir?
Yeah, one story that goes long back is the Jadans Courser, but again, I know some of you might not agree with me. During the construction of the Telugu Ganga Canal, initially the canal alignment is supposed to go through the core habitat of the Jadans Courser, where the bird, like the Kalivikodi, where the bird was first rediscovered after 130 years or so. But due to the intervention of the conservation authorities and forest department and BNHS, the alignment was changed out of the bird habitat. So at that time, some of the habitat was intact, and the bird was respotted in the area till 2008. In fact, I think till 2014 as well. But there are no recent record of the birds. But I would celebrate that story. But unfortunately, the joy was very temporary. But that is one story I can happily share. But there are some small other stories. Say, for example, the Uppalpadu Bird Sanctuary outside Guntur. Although it's a very small place, a lot of conservation groups and forest department came together and sat with the villagers, and the villagers very kindly agreed to give the village water body or the village pond for the birds. And now, if you go to Uppalpadu, you will see a lot of pelicans breeding there, open bills breeding there, and a lot of storks, painted storks also sometimes breeding there. So again, this is wonderful story where communities, conservation authorities, and research community come together to protect the birds and the habitats as well. So as a part of the discussion, I think I can quote these two examples for now. I know there are some disasters as well, but I don't want to speak about the disasters. Probably everyone knows about them. But let's celebrate some of these good things and then move forward in a positive way and work together for the betterment of the birds rather than complaining. Okay. Did I complete the question? Did I answer all the questions in this, or did I left anything behind?
Thank you, sir, for answering all the questions so patiently and in brief. So, with this, we end the today's session webinar. We appreciate your time, expertise in the field of avifauna conservation. So, thank you so much for sharing your field expertise today in the presentation. It is quite enriching information and also raised awareness about the conservation of avifauna. Thank you so much for attending as a speaker for today's webinar in spite of a busy schedule. Thank you everyone for joining the webinar. Special thanks to Dr. Nandini Salarya, Curator of Indira Gandhi Zoological Park, for a continuous support to happen all the programs successfully. So tomorrow also we have the upcoming Wildlife Week programs. So tomorrow we have Orchidarium visit. So do check IISER Zoo social media for more information. Thank you so much for everyone joining. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Tika, and thanks to the creator, Madam, and Ramana, and all the team at IISER. I would love to come back and again. I mean, sorry to rush the presentation today. I hope I have more time. Thank you, and have a nice day. Thanks to all the viewers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.